grand jurors. They will be in, and we'll be impaneling grand jurors on November the 30th, and they will begin indicting cases. There are a number of, a truckload of cases that need to be indicted, a couple truckloads probably. I heard the other day there have been 34 homicides since we've had grand juries at the courthouse. So that's a lot, and that's just one, that's just one category of cases. So we expect our grand jurors to be very, very busy, beginning towards the end of our November term here and on into next year. I'm happy to report that we are done with the selection process for our unified court case management system. That vendor has been chosen, the contract has been signed, the vendor has been on site doing their discovery. So we've got a new court case management system that will be coming in for all classes of courts. That's for state court, superior court, probate court, magistrate, juvenile. And so all the stakeholders have been working on that project for over four years, actually, if you want to get right down to the start of it. And we expect that to be completed no time soon. It's going to be a couple-year process to get that program built, to get it installed, and stand that up in our court system. But we are looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it, to truly having a good case management system. It's a wonder that we are able to do what we do in Cobb. Everybody thinks of Cobb as being this efficient jurisdiction and being able to move their cases and being on top of stuff. But really, it is through the good work of our staff, and it's the good work of the lawyers that appear in front of us that we're able to do that. Because truly, if you were to ask me right now, how many civil cases do I have, I could not tell you. I would have to send an email down to the clerk's office. They would run some numbers, and a couple weeks later I would get a list, and then I would have to count them, and it's a huge process, And judges that have the benefit of those kinds of management tools can really be more efficient. I've got colleagues in this state and other circuits that have those kind of technologies right now, and they can run a report in about 60 seconds that'll tell them every divorce case that's been filed in the last 90 days, which ones have service and which ones don't, and they can bring them all in on a calendar. We have nothing like that. So if you've ever filed a motion, you're like, hey, Judge, why didn't you rule on my motion? It was probably because we didn't know about it until you called us, literally. So that's why it's always just a good friendly reminder. If you got something like that, do send a courtesy copy to the court. So court case management system, that's coming. And I've already spoken to our newly elected clerk, and she's on board with the court case management project, so there won't be any change on that. So that will continue on. There is a court complex-wide technology renovation going on right now. If you've been to any of the courthouses, you've seen the cutting and the drilling and the hanging, and if you've been into courtroom 2000, you see that the monitors are in, and they're going in a number of different courtrooms. So that's across all classes of courts. So we flipped over and stood up the virtual platforms during the pandemic, and we needed to have technology in place that really integrated the courtroom to make it more functional for that. It's not really feasible, especially when you get to hybrid type hearings where you've got some people on Zoom, some people that have come in person. The technology just wasn't good for that. You would flip on the microphone in the courtroom, you flip on the microphone for Zoom, and all of a sudden you're in that echo, just the loop of that. And so, plus we have, the no-touch document policy is still in effect up in Superior Court. So, we're still signing everything with permission at the bench. We're not passing around paper around the courtroom. That will continue on until we're really out of this mess. So we've really leaned on technology to really be the way forward. So we've got Zoom, we've got Citrix ShareFile, is sort of our chosen digital evidence platform. So when you have a case, if you're coming in for a hearing, you'll get an order that says put all your evidence in ShareFile, reach out to the clerk. The clerk will send you a link to a folder where you upload all of your exhibits, and you will name them, pursuant to the directions that the order gives you. And then you'll be able to present all that on Zoom. And there really is, if everybody does that and reads the order and follows the order, there isn't any real need to do any screen sharing to speak of, because everybody has the documents there. It really speeds up the process. That's been one of the pain points as we flipped over to virtual was how do we deal with these exhibits? And so at first everybody was getting them on email, right? You were sending them in PDFs. It would be 5 different emails coming from your paralegal or your secretary or sometimes you. And then, you know, to get them ready for a hearing, you know, my staff attorney's got to print them off, and inevitably something gets left out. You got to go digging through a cluttered email inbox. I don't know about you all, but my inbox is up to about 400 emails a day. It's unmanageable. So we had to have a better solution for that, and so that's why we've flipped over to ShareFile. It's been very successful. Cobb County IAS has been good in helping us out with that, and so you can present that evidence now in a pretty streamlined fashion, and that's been one thing that's been going on. But the technology is going in all of the courtrooms. I forget how many there are in our circuit, but there's like 28, 30 something courtrooms when you factor in state court, superior court, magistrate, juvenile, probate, and all that. So that's going in, and you'll have, there'll be new boxes that'll be at the judge's bench and at the clerk's table. You can flip it over and you can put it on the monitor. You can preview it with just the judge and the witness. There's annotation capability with the witness, so please show us where you were standing in the parking lot when the gunshots rang out. They can mark it on there. You can capture all that, and you can upload those images into ShareFile as well. So we think it's going to be pretty user-friendly, but it's going to be different. It's just going to be very different. And the last time that you walked into a courtroom with a big binder and started passing out papers to the witness, and I'm showing you this and that, that's not the way that it's going to be. So we're going to be rolling out some training beginning in December. As soon as the technology is in more of the courtrooms, we'll have the availability to bring folks in smaller groups and start training our bar, training our judges, training our clerks, training everyone. And we'll try to make some of that available on video if we can, so that you can do some of that in the privacy of your own office. But if you're like me, I have to lay my hands on the equipment and see where the buttons are and stuff. I'm not exactly going to, be comfortable. I would never be comfortable. I wouldn't advise you to be comfortable walking into a courtroom to present for the first time, and then you're like, what does this button do? So you're going to want to take advantage of those opportunities, and we'll try to get those dates out. They are not set yet, but we'll get those on the calendar. So that's the technology renovations. Jury trials. That's the next thing that's coming. So as you know, the Chief Justice has lifted the ban on jury trials, and so each circuit is now able to conduct jury trials once they have formed a local committee, which we did. Some members of our local committee are in this room. As a matter of fact, Carlos was the Cobb representative that President Steele appointed on there. So we've had good feedback from the local committee, and our plan, probably you all have seen it. I know the bar sent it out, and it's on a couple of different websites. Our plan is very detailed, it is very comprehensive, and we have tried our level best to think of everything. Knowing that we wouldn't be able to think of everything, we convened a mock trial. That was yesterday. So I spent 7 hours in a courtroom yesterday with 25 to, it was about 25, maybe 30 people almost, participating at various different times during this mock trial in courtroom 2000, so that we could test our plan and put it through its paces and find out where it fails, where it works, what needs improvement, where are the choke points in our courthouse. And I will tell you, any circuit that is planning on restarting jury trials, I think they're probably making a mistake if they don't go through a mock trial. We learned a lot yesterday, and there are going to be some adjustments to our plan. So we benefited greatly from that and from all of the different various viewpoints in the room. We had lots of lawyers in there, lots of prosecutors, lots of defense attorneys. I will tell you, we didn't have lots of civil lawyers because, frankly, if you're a civil lawyer, and I see some of my civil litigator friends in the room today, you all, we love you, we want to get to you, but it's going to be a minute. Okay, we have to give priority to these criminal cases. There are over 1,200 inmates in our jail right now awaiting trial. There are over 20,000 across the state of Georgia awaiting trial. And I mean, that's any other disposition too. I mean, obviously it could be a plea, but those are the numbers. And we just really have to prioritize that. There are challenges to doing that in our circuit. We've got this beautiful courthouse. But when it was built, the architects, I guess it was in style that, we want to have this efficient space. It's smaller courtrooms than we were used to. We used to have bigger courtrooms to do this stuff in. And some of the places that still have those older courthouses with the bigger rooms are really benefiting from that as they move forward, because they're a lot more user-friendly to bring in groups like it takes to do jury selection. So, as you know, in our Superior Court, we've only got one courtroom that's large enough that really is suitable to do jury selection, and that's courtroom 2000, our ceremonial courtroom. So phase one of our plan calls for one trial at a time on criminal cases in courtroom 2000. Phase two, I will kind of give you a little preview, but I'm not going to get into all of the details. But when we get out of courtroom 2000 and get up into the regular courtrooms, we're going to have to figure out how to do jury selection, and maybe we do selection in 2000 and then move upstairs, or we've got to do something different. And really, we believe the way forward is if we're going to try a trial in one of our small courtrooms upstairs, it takes one courtroom for just the participants, lawyers, staff, parties. There can really be no public access in there. There just isn't room. And so part of that technology renovation that I was telling you about earlier, we now have the capabilities within our buildings to stream that trial from one courtroom to another. So I can tell David Tyler, our IT guy in Superior Court, we're going to be trying a case in my courtroom. And the way it would have to work is you'd have to be partnered with another judge, because you have to have public access. Are we going to go live streaming criminal jury trials? No. So it's going to be an internal public access in another courtroom. There'll be a public viewing area in the courthouse in another courtroom that is not in use. That's how we're going to satisfy the constitutional right to have open and publicly accessible courtrooms. So it takes two courtrooms to run a trial. If we get to the point where we can get two trials going in the courthouse at the same time, that's four courtrooms out of commission. How does that impact our ability to keep the business moving? The one partnering judge, so if it was, say it was me and Judge Harris, neighbors, she would have to schedule Zoom court that week, because when it's my trial week, she would have to have Zoom hearings. She would be doing those in chambers, not on her bench. And she would have to either stream those to some other courtroom in the courthouse, if there was one available, or she would have to go external, live stream, YouTube, Vimeo, something like that, to satisfy it. If she's going to have court, it could be an office week, it could be, prepping something else, I don't know. But she would not be able to use that courtroom while there's a trial going on, because that's where the public would be for the trial that was going on in the neighboring courtroom. So it requires a lot of cooperation. It requires a lot of planning on the bench, and it frankly requires a lot of work between our court administration and our IT folks. There are a lot more problems than there are solutions to all of this, but I'll tell you, we're working very hard to try to figure those out. I've spent hundreds of hours in meetings, statewide COVID task force meetings, different subcommittees, our local committees it's been a real challenge, but it is not something that I have done alone. I've had a lot of help. I've got, Judge Childs has been instrumental in helping us, and Judge Harris has been instrumental, and Judge Kell, and our entire local committee, and there are a lot of people working very hard around this state to try to figure out answers to all of this. And I'll tell you, I've just recently organized a Metro Atlanta Chief Judges meeting. So if we can, I've spoken with Judge Brasher and Judge Jackson and Judge Hutchinson. So Cobb, Gwinnett, DeKalb, and Fulton, we're going to try, if we can, to be on the same page with one another when we flip the switch on for jury trials. Now, there are distinctions and there are differences, but we know that we all are in the same media market, and we say jurors are coming back, and then so-and-so calls it off, and you've got this, and are we going there? It just becomes a real information nightmare. So we're going to try to get everybody on the same page. I don't know if we will, but we're going to put the work in and see if we can. Right now, tentatively, the plan is to start jury trials in Cobb County the week of January the 11th. And so that's where we're at as far as the timeline. I don't know, I'm happy to take questions, and I don't have the kind of time to run through the entire plan. I hope that you have read it. I've literally spent 7 hours talking about it yesterday. So, you know, the 10 or 15 minutes that I have here is entirely insufficient, but I'm happy to take pointed questions if you have them. Yeah.
What about state court?
State court, so we'll be talking with Judge Bowers. We have an agreement, right? And we're going to start at the same time. You know, there are various different deadlines and whatnot that come into play, and so we wanted to make sure that state court didn't start before Superior Court, because there's questions about whether or not that term of court would start for any kind of, you know, deadlines that might start ticking. Statutory speedy trial demands in criminal cases remain told, and I think will continue to remain told by the Chief Justice's order. You know, constitutional is obviously not told. So all of this delay at some point will be, you know, we'll be probably having, you know, motion hearings on that. Civil cases, you know, that's a little, it's a little bit, I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to speak for my state court judges. I used to be over there. And so I don't entirely know what the plan is, but I predict that as efficient as they are, hey, Judge Rogers, I know you're retiring, but you're going to leave a manicured caseload for your successor. As efficient as they are and the benefits that they have from working through their criminal backlog with a 6-person jury, those cases that need to be tried will be easier to work through than Superior Court. Superior Court's a little bit of a tougher nut to crack. But I think the recovery in state court will probably happen faster. So I don't want to say you won't see any civil jury trials in 2021.